So, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on which time zone you're joining us from. And a warm welcome to each one of you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join this session. And yes, the topic for today is career planning, setting goals, and strategies. Right. So, before I proceed, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Ras Gohil. Ras is a highly accomplished veteran in the banking industry, boasting an impressive 36-year career marked by diverse leadership roles, spanning commercial banking, strategy, credit and risk management, financial, crime, and compliance. So, our many qualifications include certifications from the Lumina Training Programs, emphasizing behavior, interaction, and leadership skills. So, yes, without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Raj.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Soumya, for that illustrious introduction. I feel humbled. Thank you. First, before I go on, can everybody see the screen? Soumya, can you see the screen? Can you see my slides, or that's something you
Yes.
can? Right, so everybody that's on, can you see me moving it?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Right. So welcome, everybody. I know sometimes, you think career planning, what's it all about? And when we are sometimes you don't know when you're studying what you want to study until you actually think about, like, this is what I want to do. Some of you may be halfway through your career and think, I want a career change. So this is not just about planning your career from the outset. It's also about planning your career if you decide to change midway as well. You think, this is not what I want to do. I want to carry on. I want to do something totally different. So let's just start the webinar agenda. We'll do some introductions. I think Soumya has done that. She's introduced me, so I don't think I need to introduce myself again. But welcome to everybody that's on. Please use the chat to ask me any questions that you have. You can come. I don't know, Soumya, can they come on audio? They can't speak, or they can?
They can come and talk to you.
Okay, all right. So if you want to ask me a question, please come. Otherwise, you can use the chat. What we'll talk about is, what is a career plan? We use these words. It's like, yeah, a career plan, career plan. What actually do we mean by a career plan? And we'll talk about that going forward. And the key thing is, why do you think you need one? Right? Some people you may or may not have come across are literally, they have their career. And there's a saying called from the seat of your pants. Literally, they just take each step as it happens. They don't plan anything, and they get to where they want to. I do believe that if you have a career plan, if there is anything that doesn't go as well as you want it to, at least you know where you are at the stage of your plan. So I always believe that you should have one. And we'll do a wrap up and any questions and what have you. But let's just move on. I won't, at times I'll ask questions, so please do answer them. Otherwise, if there's anything, just raise your hand or just let me know. So, a career plan, what does it really involve? Okay, what do we really mean by a career plan? So, key principles. It's about goal setting. And I'm sure you've all come across this. It's not just about this is what I want to get. It's, what is it that I really want to achieve in my career, and how am I going to get there? Right. So what are the goals? What is it that you really want to do before you've retired? Right. So we're talking long term as well. It's not just short term. What skills and development do you have? So your career will be based around your own skills and your development that you've achieved within your work life as well as your studying. So what have you done? What skills have you attained? When we all study, we get a university degree. Great. That's absolutely great. It doesn't really give you the skills until you actually do the job. So this is also when you're career planning, when you're looking at what you need to do, is what can I do at the moment? What am I capable of doing? And what can I do going forward? What do I need to develop myself in to make sure I achieve my goals? So this is like a follow-on. We then go to timelines and milestones. So this is where your plan comes in. right? We often say, yep, I want to do this, I want to do that. We don't actually put down in a, in a plan. Now, some of you may be spreadsheet, you know, gurus. Some of you may not. I'm one of these ones that's quite organized. I like to have my spreadsheet, but I also like to have my plan. So I know that by this time, it may be, I don't know, a year, I want to have achieved this in my career, right? So you've got your first plan. And then you've got your next plan. The milestones is when you've actually achieved it. So you might think, right, I want to achieve, I don't know, a role that you are looking to want to achieve in a year, but a year comes along and you haven't achieved it. So you have a milestone. So what I would do is always assess your timelines with your milestone. If you have said, I want to achieve this by this time, then what is your timeline of getting there? And if you haven't planned your career or you don't know what your goals are, you may not achieve that milestone. So the milestone has to, probably move out. Some of you may or may not know what a Gantt chart is. So those of you that are on, do you know what a Gantt chart is? Let me just see if I can type it in the right Gantt chart. Let me know. And this is the one thing I'm going to ask you to use for your career plans. Has anybody heard of a Gantt chart? Yes or no in the chat would be great. Oh, come on. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. I'm not expecting anybody to know what a Gantt chart is. It's normally used in project management. But I feel that you can use the Gantt chart to plan in anything you want to plan, right? Okay, Rosalind, you haven't. That's fine. It's not a problem. What it actually is, it's like an Excel spreadsheet, right? And what it is you plan your what jobs you want to do, what skills you want to gain, and you set it either on a monthly basis. You can do it as weekly as well, or on an annual basis. You can do a long-term one or a short-term one and do it on a monthly basis. What the difference between an Excel spreadsheet and a Gantt chart is, if, for example, your timeline moves out, you don't achieve it by the milestone, when you put in that extra, you think, right, actually, I haven't achieved it by month 6, I'm going to achieve it by month 7. That Gantt chart automatically moves out by a month. So then your milestone is not the end of 2024, it may be the beginning of 2025. Let's say that's as an example. So have a look at a Gantt chart if you get to use it. Otherwise, a Excel spreadsheet is fine. But I always use that because it's something that you can come back to and think, what did I do? How did I achieve it? Great. If it didn't go as planned, at least you've got that thing about what didn't go as planned. Did I not go and get that, that skill? Did you need to study for it? Did you need to work with someone for it? So use that. I think it's quite important to use one of those. Or, I'm talking about Gantt chart and Excel spreadsheet. You might decide that you just want a simple plan where you can check, but have something that you can go back to and say, right, I know I wanted to achieve this by this time. Why didn't I do it? Or if I've achieved it, great, big tick. And then finally, networking and opportunities. So your career is not just about you doing things yourself and in your work environment, your colleagues. It's also about going out there external to what you're doing. We talk about networking as if it's a flippant remark. Okay. What you need to get through here is understand that networking is very important. It's where you meet the people to help your career, right? It might be that you've attended a networking event and you've decided that you now need to move on to your next role. The networking is giving you the opportunity to meet the people that can help you on that next step. Now, it may be internally, it may be externally. But the other thing the networking can do is see what synergies you have with the career that you're in. And you might think, well, that's my career here, but I want to do something different just to gain another skill, right? So use that as your networking. Go out there and attend these networking events so that you make sure that, right, this is what I want to achieve. How did they achieve it? Get their guidance at these networking events. Get their stories, listen to their stories of how they've achieved it. And sometimes it's not that easy. We often say that, when you look at a career plan, you're not going to achieve your goal straight up. You will, or you can, but achieving it like that isn't the greatest way. If you do it this way and you get to the top, you have learned other skills along the way. But if you go straight up, you may not have had the additional skills that you needed. Because if you do then want to change your career, then it's restricting you because that's all you've known. So when Soumya talked about my background, so when I joined banking, and I was in banking, I joined the retail bank. And I didn't know anything else at the time. I wanted to go into retail. But what happened is I had the opportunity through my networking to go into credit and corporate and commercial. So then I moved over into a different skill set and gained that skill set. And then from that, I moved into different types of credit, in terms of like trade finance and different. And then I moved back in to retail, and then I moved back out again to do different things. So what I did is moving in and out, but each step I gained some more skills. And those skills has helped me do what I do now, because when I get asked, Raz, can you do this? Yep, I can do that. I've done that. Raz, can you do this? Yep, I've done that. I can help. If I haven't, then I say I haven't. But it allows you to build a much broader individual about yourself. Your skill set is wider. You're able to take on different roles that you didn't think you could do from that broader skill set. Is that okay? Has anybody got any questions so far? If you haven't, I'll move on. But if you have, please feel free to put it in the chat or come on audio. So goal setting. It needs to be specific. Don't make it, oh, I think I'll do this. I think I'll achieve that. Make it specific, because if you don't make it specific, you won't know what to do to achieve that goal. So if it is that you want to become, I don't know, I'm going to use an example. You want to become head of corporate within in an organization, then you need to know what is your goals that you have to achieve to get there. So make it specific. Okay. The other thing is, I'm going to put both of these on. You need to look at a short-term plan and a long-term plan. So and we will go through this in more detail just later on. But I always say you need to know what you want to achieve. Short-term doesn't mean months. It still can mean years. All right. So it can mean in the short term, so 18 months to 2 years, I want to achieve this. Right. This is my goal. Long term is, where do you actually see yourself? This is where that timeline comes in. So where do you see yourself from here in your short term to seeing yourself where you're long term? You might decide you want to become a CEO somewhere. That's your long term plan. Your short term is the little pockets of goal setting that you will do to get to your long term plan. Now, along the way, if you remember when I first started saying and introduced the career planning, that you might decide to change your career. You might think, actually, this is not for me. I've studied this, but this is not what I want to do. So what your short term does, and the goal setting when it's specific, it gives you ideas to think, well, actually, I need to change my long term plan. I want to go into this. And so how do I change it? And I give you an example. A colleague of mine used to work in the bank with me, in my years when I was at HSBC, and she was working in corporate with me. She enjoyed it. She liked it, but something changed. And you're going to think, how can you change such a career plan? She went from being really good at the job in HSBC in corporate to becoming a paramedic. So she decided in her own time, while she was still working, to study to become medical. So she was doing all the exams and that. So her short-term plan that she had, all of a sudden, a long-term plan, sorry, that she had changed. So her short-term plan that she had went from, right, I'm still working in HSBC, I'm still doing this, but I also now need to get the qualifications I need medically to become a paramedic. And now she's a paramedic and she loves it. And that's all she wants to do. So your career can change. Things in your life can make you change your career. right? So it's not just about, oh, I'm going to change my career because I don't enjoy it. Sometimes you're forced to change your career for personal reasons. So always have that plan. That's why I say think of the short term and think of contingencies. What if this plan doesn't go the way I need it? What can I do to change it? And where does my long-term plan sit? Okay, I'm just going to move on. Unless there's any more questions, has anybody got any questions that you want to ask? If not, I'll move on. So, I don't know. Yep. Skills and development, right? So when we talked about those 4 key principles, skills and development was the next one. Formal education. We all know that we need some form of formal education to get onto that first step of the ladder, right? You're going to move on to that first. So you need that formal education to put you on there. However, I still believe that sometimes you can have that formal education and not achieve what you want to achieve, right? Because, having a degree is absolutely fantastic. You need it. It's not the be all or end all of your career. There are people who haven't got these formal, qualifications, but they've gone on to achieve something a lot better because they've done it through training and certifications along the role, right, in the job. So what they've done is, whilst doing the job, while they may have, say, basic qualifications, they may not have got a PhD or a MA or an MBA or what have you. They might have actually started doing it on the job. So I was was a graduate many years ago. But when I joined the bank, I also started doing the banking exams. So I was doing that whilst I was working. And it's something that adds to your skills and development as well. But the key thing I talk about is experience. So when you are looking at your career and you decide to move to different roles. So let me give you another example. Let's say you're an accountant, right? And you may join one auditing firm, say KPMG or EY, what have you. Your experience within that firm is going to be essential for you if you want to move on to something bigger and better. You might decide that actually, I don't want to work for one of the big 4 anymore. I want to be an accountant in a big bank, or I want to be head of their finance. So that experience that you've achieved in some of the other roles that you've done will get you to your next level. Nowadays, and I don't know if this is worldwide, but it's definitely more Europe and UK related. And I think in certain parts of kind of America as well, that they now look at apprenticeships. So rather than going to a university, because there is that cost issue, what people tend to do is join, find a job that they think they want to do, and then start doing it as an apprenticeship. And basically what that means is that you're doing the job and you're working. Sorry, you're working and you're studying. So a couple of nights a week or a couple of days a week, you're going to university to study as well as learn. And those apprenticeships are probably valued far higher than someone coming in just as a graduate, purely because they've got the experience as well. But I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm simply saying it's a different way of looking at how you want to plan your career. You might think, I want to learn on the job because that's what I like. And therefore you move up along the way on your career. So that's when we talk about skills and development. Think about it's a formal education. Don't stop learning. If you have your goals, you may need to constant learning. In the medical field, they have to learn all the time, right? They're constantly having to train because things change. They can't just say, I've got a degree, I'm a qualified doctor, that's it. It doesn't work like that. So in any career, don't just sit still and think, yeah, I've got that degree, I can do it. Learn and do a bit more. Learn a bit more that's outside of your normal job role and think, well, can I learn this? Can this add value to my career? And then finally, gain the experience. That experience, when you go for interviews, you'll find that a lot of the people say, well, what experience have you got? And 9 times out of 10, if you're a graduate, or you're new, you say, well, I've only got a year or 2 years, and think, oh, okay. But when you've said, well, actually, I have got a degree and I've been studying, continuing to study, doing other certifications, that then becomes an experience. They think, well, I'm actually doing on the job as well. And that's what people are interested in. So, we've got another webinar coming next month that talks about different interviewing techniques, but what it does is gain that experience. Okay, so that's your skills and development part. Now, we talked about timelines and milestones. So here, when I talked about that Gantt chart and that Excel spreadsheet, this is the pace of your progression, right? This is what you want to achieve when you want to achieve it. This is not like a race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, but it can be in between, right? It can be a relay. Think about what you want to achieve and when you want to achieve it by. Some people get so ambitious, and that's not a bad thing, but I often ask them to rein themselves in, because they get so ambitious that the pace of the progression is like this, right? It goes up. But what they do is they forget about all the other things that they've probably not achieved along the way. I always say, learn each step at a time, master it. Don't just read about it and do the overview, right? Master it, because when you get to your next role, and let's say you become a leader, people are going to show you respect if you know more about the job than just running through it. Just say, yeah, I only did that for a year. They're not going to have as that much respect for you. But if you say, I did that at this pace, whilst you may be slower getting to your end game, you've still learned a lot and you know the ins and outs of everything. So you want to be the go-to person. Say, yep, go to so-and-so, right? They will get, they know the answer. They've done this job really well, and they've done it for a longer period of time. Because some people, it's like the moment 18 months and they get itchy feet. I want to move on. I want to move on. And I remember I used to be like that when I was much younger and at HSBC. I'm thinking, I want my next promotion. I want my next promotion. And it's not about the next promotion. Your career isn't about being promoted, all the time. It's about mastering your job. It's about doing your job so that you're respected, not only in your organization, but in the industry, right? And when I say industry, people know you through LinkedIn, through other social media, right? There are business social media, through networking. People you gain respect from them. People get to know you from that. So your pace of progression is important, right? And it's make it steady. So the other question I have is, how will you manage those milestones? So this is where you must have contingency plans. So when you put it together, it's just bear with me a second. It's if this doesn't happen, if this was your career that you had planned, doesn't happen, what is your contingency? What's your fallback is basically the question, right? If this doesn't happen, what's your fallback? And it may be that you're taking one step forward to take 2 steps back sometimes, just because things might have changed. What you want to achieve is turn that around to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back if you need to. But it's make sure that milestone that you've put yourself in, that you've set yourself for, is manageable. It's achievable. Don't just go in and think, right, it's got to happen. I have got to get this promotion in 12 months' time. If you have that, you will put yourself under pressure. And what will happen is you won't achieve it, because you'll be too much thinking about, I've got to get that promotion. I've got to rather than doing the job in the right way, doing the job successfully. And your career depends on that. People will remember if you get somewhere and then you fall down, if you haven't achieved it. That's what will happen. But you said you were going to get this done in this time, and it hasn't happened. And if it happens too often, that's what the industry here. So your career, it's not just about you individually, it's about the environment around you as well. Because sometimes, and I talk about things, and I'm going to just put on the next one. It's tracking and making the adjustments. So you all remember COVID. You all remember the airline industry, the hospitality industry. Certain industries just fell off a cliff. Okay. And they had their careers in those industries. But all of a sudden, it came to a standstill. They couldn't do it because the pandemic stopped you from doing that. So here is, what can you do? What's your contingency? If that doesn't happen, what do I do? Now, a lot of these people, okay, some of them have gone back into their roles as things have started to become better again following the pandemic. But some people changed their career completely. As I said, my colleague it wasn't COVID related, but some people within the hospitality industry have gone into becoming, I don't know, retail managers at a supermarket, or working, as a driver somewhere. So it's about what is it? What adjustments can you make along the way should it not go as planned? And like I said, I'm going to talk to you about how to do that going forward so that you know how to make those adjustments. But your timeline and milestone, don't have it as a complete dark, bold line. You need to make it adjustable, because your contingency, what if this happens? What can I do? What if this happens? What can I do? Like I said, the pandemic got rid of, a lot of industries just went to pot. Something might happen with you personally that you think, right, I can't achieve this plan anymore. So have that contingency and put that in your career plan. Right, what is it that I want to achieve? Is everybody okay with that so far? Has anybody got any questions? You're very quiet, so don't be shy. You don't have to come on audio. You can type it in the chat. Right, networking and opportunities. This is about building a network. This doesn't come easy. And for those of you that are shy, it's going to be more difficult to build a network, because you've got to be pushed into trying to get someone that you need to talk to. But your network is key, because without your network, you won't be able to achieve half your goal plan. And some of you may say, well, actually, I don't have a network and I'm doing really well. Great, congratulations. But there's going to be a time when you think, well, I now need to do something different. And if you don't have a network of friends, it's not going to, you're not going to move as quickly as you would like. So building that network is important. I'm also a mentor, and I have been for about 25, 30 years. So I mentor both graduates all the way up to professionals. And recently I was mentoring, I've got quite a few mentees, and one of them had said they're doing compliance, but they now all of a sudden want to do something different. They want to give something back to the community. So they want to be able to help finance new businesses in developing world, right? In developing countries. So because of my background and because of the way I built the network, I've been able to put her in touch with someone that can help her working with development banks. So it's not just your network. Use your colleagues, use your contacts and their networks to help you build yours, right? And then share your network, because sharing also helps you to grow wider. All right. Secondly, gain the insights. And this is what I talked about earlier on, right? How can you understand a bit more about whether it's your career or whether you need to change or someone else's career? So during that networking event, go to people and ask them questions. Be bold and say, how did you get to where you are? What did you do? What contingency plans did you have? What challenges did you have? So gain those insights, because we always learn from different people. We learn the good things and how to do it, and we learn the not so good things and how not to do it. Okay. So this is about gaining the insights. See, there'll be experienced people in that networking event, and there'll be less experienced people. The less experienced people, you probably have a synergy with and an affinity with. The more experienced people is the people that you need to get in touch with and say, right, this is my card. Can I have your card? Can we make contact? And it's building a network doesn't need to be something formal. It's just, can we have a coffee to catch up? I was really interested in what you were talking about. So those kind of things, build your network. It can be a social. It doesn't have to be so strict and regimental. Okay. That's how you build your networks. It's about personalities. It's not about your job. It's about your personalities. And then finally, I always say, have a mentor, have a sponsor. Now, there's a difference between the two. Mentor is what I do a lot. So I will coach and mentor individuals if they are looking to do certain roles, or if they are within their own role and having certain challenges, or guiding them in what their career needs to be. That's what I can do. A sponsor is someone that can pay for you to do something. They give you the financial support to move on in your career. And that can happen within your own organization. So in your own organization, you might think, well, I now want to go and work in the States, or I want to go and work in South America, or I want to work in the Far East. You need to find a sponsor within your own organization that will sponsor you financially through the company, through whoever you're, and allow you to work as a secondment wherever you want to do, wherever you want to work. Or it may be outside of your organization. You might decide that you want to work for a regulatory body outside of your own organization, or you might decide you want to work into something totally different. But you will always come back to your organization after that secondment's finished. The sponsors are the ones that you need on your side to sponsor you financially, to say, right, you want to go and work there, we'll sponsor you and I'll sign it off. So that's why it's important to have both. They will guide you, the sponsors will guide you, but the mentors will guide you far more in terms of what you want to achieve and how you're going to get there. The sponsors are the ones who'll say, yep, here, we'll let you go and I'll sponsor you financially to do that. So that is about your opportunities. You build your own opportunities. Okay, let me remind you, people are not going to hand things on a plate and say, hey, here it is, go and go for this job, we're going to give it to you. It doesn't work like that anymore. The world has changed. You have to go out and get your own career, so to speak, right? So it's about you making that first step, not them making the first step. And this is all about the networking is a key part of your role in anything that you do. You should be networking all the time. My husband used to laugh at me because when I was doing one of the jobs, I was constantly, even if we went to a restaurant, I'd be networking if I started to talk to someone and he'd say, oh my God, Raz, stop it. But that's how you build it. It's about your personality. And people remember that. People don't remember the job that you do. People remember the person that you are. Then they think, I remember the job they did. And that's where then they can say, right, I'd like you to come and work for me, or I'd like you to introduce you to someone, and your career can move that way as well. Okay. Is everybody okay with that so far? Somia, are we okay? Are you getting any questions at all that maybe I'm not getting?
We do not have any questions as such now.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll carry on. So, why do you need a career plan? I'll go through this very briefly. You don't need to go into so much detail. Goal clarity. You need to know exactly what goals you want to achieve. That's why you need a career plan. If you don't know your goals, what's the point? And I say flippantly, what's the point? Because you can't just go into a job and think, yeah, I'm going to a job, I'm doing this job. You need to know what you want to achieve. So get your goal clarity. It will help you with your strategic decision making. Okay. So when you are making decisions about your career, you don't just think about internal, you think of the wider, the more, what's the strategy behind what you want to achieve in your career? How are you going to make those decisions? And what is it? And until you know your goals, you can't make those decisions. And you need to look at the wider, what is the, the strategy of certain industries, because certain industries won't exist. So your decision will be around that, but your career may be within that industry where it may not exist going forward. All right. So think about that. AI has become such a big thing at the moment. And, a lot of teachers and lecturers are saying that AI is not helping them because the graduates are able to, or the students are able to just look on ChatGPT or I don't know what some of them are called, chat bot or whatever it's called, right? So that's kind of thing. It'll help you with your decision making. It also helps you with your progress measurement. So it helps once you've got one, you think, right, how am I progressing? If I'm not progressing as well as I should, why am I not doing it? Is it because I'm not doing my job properly? Or is it because I'm being stopped from doing my job properly? Right? And remember that word stopped. I use that in inverted commas. Stopped. Is it that there are obstacles put in your way deliberately? Do you need to understand that actually I need to move environment? I need to move to a different department. So look at your progress measurement. Where is it? And, are you achieving? Are you on the right lines? It may take longer. It may even take, shorter. You might have a plan that you want to achieve something in a year, and all of a sudden, through your networking, you've been approached and said, right, we'd like you to take this on. So track that, but make sure you're not doing things too quickly. Make sure it's at a steady pace. Right? It's a rat race out there. Believe me. I know when I was younger and I joined the bank, it wasn't. And then as I was near the end, it was becoming a mega rat race. And it was like you're treading on, not literally, but inverted commas, you're treading on people to get to the top. That's not what you want to achieve. You want to get there because you've achieved that role or achieved that post or achieved that leadership role, whatever it is that you want to achieve. And then finally, I talk about adaptability. Make sure that you can adapt to any changing environment. This is where your contingency plan comes in. Are you so set in the ways of your career and the industry or the sector that you want to be in that you can't, if anything goes wrong, you've got nothing to fall back on. So make sure you've got that adaptability. And that can only come with what I talked about before about skills and development, learning different things that have a connection to your role. But if that role ceases to exist, you've still got these other contingencies you can fall back on. So make sure that you can, because some people have this narrowed view that this is it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to be fine. And they don't have any room for improvement or any room for flexibility in any shape or form. Make sure that you can adapt. You may have to learn new skills again. But don't think of it as, oh, I'm going back to basics and learning that skill again or learning a new skill. Think of it as a positive. That skill that you're having to go back to learn is going to be something that's another notch on your belt. It's another skill that you've achieved, right? Even though you had to start from the bottom again, you've achieved it and it's there. And I've done that many times where I've achieved different skills along the way. And whilst at the time I used to think, oh God, I've got to go to do this again. But now I thank them because I've got so many skills, my skill set is quite broad that I can do a number of different things. If this doesn't happen, that can happen. I've got the skills for that. So make sure you make yourself adaptable. Okay? Any questions on that? Is everybody okay with that? Please do feel free to on the chat. Your plans. Now, this is the bit I was talking about earlier on to say I was going to talk to you. This is key. And when I mentor, I use this for all my mentees that are looking at careers. So when we finish this today, go back and put a plan together and draw on a piece of paper or whatever, however you want to do it. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Personal. So what do you want to achieve in 2 years time, in 5 years time, and 10 years time personally? Right? You might want to buy a house. You might want to get married. You might want to have children. You might want to live abroad. I don't know. That's your personal plan. So put it what you think you want to achieve. Then do the same with your career. So do a 2, 5, 10-year plan and think, what do I want to achieve in my career over the next 2 years, next 5, and next 10 years? Right? And the reason I ask you to do 2 is look at where the synergies are and where your challenges are. So personally, oh no, let's change it the other way around. Your career, you might think, well, actually, if let's say, I don't know where some of you are based, you're probably primarily in India, I think, or maybe in America, Far East or Canada, I don't know. But let's say you want to move to the Far East. That's your career plan. I want to work in the Far East. But your personal plan is that you're going to buy a house and probably get married. Well, is that going to work? Can you move completely to the Far East, or the fact that you've already wanted to move, stay with your family where you are at the moment? So make sure, remember, I'm not asking you to make it match. I'm simply saying, write it and see where the matches are and see where you think, I might have a problem here because personally I want to do this, but in my career I want to be able to have achieved this. So what comes in is what I talked about in the previous: adapt and have a contingency, because you might think, right, this is it. So different things will happen, and your decision will depend on what you really want to achieve. Now, family are important to your personal life, so is your career. And giving my example, back in 2007, I think, so many years ago, I was asked to go out and head a corporate team in Hong Kong. And I've always wanted to live in Hong Kong. However, my daughter was studying for her A-levels, due to go into university. And I had that challenge. And they said, well, we'll do this, we'll educate her and all that. But my decision had to be, well, if I go out to Hong Kong, I can't leave my daughter here, because whilst I know she was going to be studying for university, I needed to be here. So I took the decision not to go, even though my career I wanted to go, because I wanted to stay with my daughter to make sure she got into a good university. And I don't regret it. She's now an eye specialist, so she's, doing well. I thought my career would go down the pan because I'd refused that. Actually, they took it differently and thought, I've made a decision based on around my family. So they actually asked me to head a corporate team in the UK instead. So that worked out for me. Since then, I have been abroad and all over the place because they've sent me, because, obviously my daughter had got her own job and she didn't need me to be here. But the thing is, don't sacrifice one thing for another. Make sure the decision you make is based on what you think you can achieve. Don't think, for me, it was like, all right, I did think, all right, I'm not going to get another opportunity. But it's about you as an individual. What have you achieved to date? What's your skill set? What's your qualifications? What's your, how have you dealt with the people? What's your interpersonal skills? So how have you dealt with the people that work with you? How have you built your network? And that helped me when they said, okay, it didn't happen straight away. It happened about 6 months later. We're going to give you, a leadership role within the corporate in the UK. And I thought, all right, fine, great. It happened. So make sure the decisions you make, it's not a sacrifice. Don't have that regret afterwards. Make sure it is for the right reason. So these synergies and challenges I talk about, they can be quite, challenging. Had my daughter not been at that level and she was younger, I would have moved, because she could have educated in Hong Kong. But she was at that stage where I could not take her out and could not jeopardize her potential career. And like I said, I don't have regrets because she's doing exceptionally well in her career. So that's what it's about, right? So your plans are key. And I would always say, and don't just do this once and forget about it. Do this regularly. So once you've done your 2, 5, 10-year plan, look at the timeline and the milestone that I talked about earlier on and thinking, right, where am I in my 2-year personal? Where am I in my 2-year career? Right, is it matching? Great. If it's not, what have I got? What contingency? Do the same for 5, do the same for 10. After 2 years, do another 2, 5, 10-year plan, right? Because your 5-year will have caught up with the one you did previously, but your 2 years will be, well, what do I want to achieve now in the next 2 years? And this is both personal and career. Hope that makes sense. This is absolutely important. I'm just trying to think of time. Okay, I'll move on a bit quicker. Right, building trust, right? Your career is all about building trust. And because we are a bit short of time, I'm going to move on quickly. Establish better work ethics, right? This is about making sure that the people you work with, you build that reputation and that respect. Okay, so this is when I said improve your reputation. Build that work ethic that you work well as a team, because it's those teams that are going to give you the feedback for your next role. So make sure that you do have better work ethics and improve your reputation. If it's not right, if it's not great, why isn't it great? You know, get that feedback. What is it that you're not doing right? And I always say, I know this is a cliche, feedback is a gift, but it is. Because I always say, if I don't know I'm doing something wrong, I'll continue doing it wrong until someone says, Raz, that's not right. So always ask for feedback and improve the thinking, right, I didn't know I was doing that. Become a valuable asset. This is about, it's not about being indispensable, that they can't do the job without you. This is about being the go-to person. So in your organization, wherever you may be that valuable asset. There are. Go to so-and-so, go to Rosalind, go to Somia, go to Richard, go to whoever. They know what to do. They know how it's done. Become that valuable asset so that you're respected and thinking, right, so-and-so knows the job really well. Right. So that's about building trust, that they can share that. And how to build it? So build relationships one at a time. Don't try to get everybody together, right? Do it one at a time. Build on that and move to the next relationship. Be friendly and make a connection, right? There's no, you don't have to be rude in any shape or form, right? When you make a connection, it's because you've got like personalities, right? So be there for them because you want them to be there for you later. Ask people questions, right? Don't just sit there and thinking, oh, how do I do this? What's happening? Ask them questions about themselves. Get to know them, right? Because when you get to know them, you'll find that you might have synergies and you can help each other. Tell people about yourself. Remember, this is not about blowing your own trumpet, but if you want people to recognize you, if you want people to know that you can do something, you need to tell them about yourself, not in an arrogant way, not in an egoistical way, but in a way that they know that actually, you know what, you can do that next job. You can do this job. Go places and do things. So don't just stick to one area. Like I said, go and do different things, learn different skills elsewhere and do things, build that. That will help you build the trust as well. Accept the people the way they are. Don't try to change them. Some people you may not get on, you might have personality clashes, but that's them. So accept the way they are. Don't try to change the people. Like just accept that, okay, that's the way they talk, that's the way they operate. Go with it. Because that's what you want. You want people to accept the way you are. Assume other people also want to form those relationships too. Don't just think, oh, they're not going to want to talk to me. I'm not going to talk to them because they don't want to talk to me. Oh, they're so silent, they're never going to talk to me. Assume that they also want to talk. Maybe they're quiet and they want you to go and approach them and say, let's work together on this. Okay. And finally, overcome your fear of rejection. A lot of the time, someone may say, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to, even in a networking event, oh, yeah, fine. And they ignore you. You need to overcome that. It's hard. And I understand it. I've been there. But if you don't overcome that, it's going to eat you away. Because in your jobs, in your career, the higher you get, the more feedback that you're going to get that you're not going to like, or people are not going, they're going to reject you. You go for a job interview and they're going to say, no, we don't want you. Don't let it get to you. Just think of it as another job. It's experience that you've had for that job. Move on to the next one. Okay. But try and overcome. Building trust is all about this. It's all about your interpersonal skills and working together, as a team. Your career is not just you individually. Your career is the people you work with as well. Okay. Because your career can go flat if the people that you work with don't work with you or don't like you or what have you, and you don't have that reputation. But your career can build and flourish if you have the people there to support you. When people say you've done really well, your team's done fantastic. Well, you haven't done well on your own. Your team has helped you get to where you've got to. So remember the people around you. So how are you going to do it? So the what, the how, and the why. How are you going to make the connections? What's your action plan, right? Work out your action plan. Make those connections. What are you going to do to contact people? Are you going to email them? Are you going to go to an event? Are you going to do a Zoom interview? Whatever. So not interview, a Zoom meeting, right? What's your action plan? Interpersonal skills that I talked about. Your connections will depend on the interpersonal skills. You may get some people that don't want to talk to you. Doesn't matter. You don't have to talk to them. But your skills is being the better person. We call it emotional integrity, right? Emotional intelligence. So your interpersonal skills is all about how you manage or how you respond to something that doesn't go your way. And then what is your brand? What is it that you're trying to sell? So your career, what's your brand? Is it you're reliable? Is it that you are a team player or a team leader? Is it that you're successful in bringing growth? What is your brand? And then build on that. You know, so-and-so's known for making sure that they increase their portfolio growth from 5 to 10%, whatever the case may be. So your brand is important. Is your brand about people, bringing people up with you? And make sure that brand then is you, right? Your brand is your reputation. So that's absolutely important. And I think Soumya will be happy that we are finishing on time, because I think we overran last time. But that's it. This is about how you plan your career. So I don't know if any of you got any questions that you want to ask. I want to say thank you for joining. I hope it's been useful for all of you that have joined. And feel free to ask me questions now. Feel free to connect later, or feel free to contact the Knowledge Hut, and they can then share any questions. But I think it's a thank you from me. Thank you for joining. I hope it was useful for all of you. And over to you, Soumya.
Yes, absolutely. It was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Raz. And if you have any questions, you can text in the chat. Yeah, and if you want to talk to Raz, please raise your hand. I will allow you to talk. Any questions is okay. Any suggestions is also fine. Or if you have any doubts or if you have any questions, you can directly talk to Raz.
Ooh, I think they're shy. Ma'am, I'm in software industry. How can I get into banking sector? What roles can I get there? Okay, so you're in the software industry, and how can you get into the banking sector? Right, so I would say one of the key things I would, Pallav, I would do is look around the banking sector for, now, are you looking to go into banking for banking, or are you wanting to go into software in banking? Just so that I understand. Because what I would do, banking, you want to go into banking, right? Your step in, right? So you want to go into banking, but you've already got the software skill. So what I would do is look at the banking roles that are out there, or look at what skill, webinars there might be out there on how to understand, how to get into the IT section in the banking sector. So your inroad won't be into banking straight away, because otherwise you'd be starting at the bottom. What I would suggest you do is try and go into the banking world through software and through IT first, right? Use that as your foot in. And then once you're in there, make your connections regarding the banking. Now, banking, is it retail or is it commercial corporate? What do you want to go into? Because that's going to be that now, in my day it wasn't, but now there's two avenues. You either go into the retail sector or you go into the commercial corporate. So retail is dealing with smaller businesses, right? So you want to go into the commercial. So what your key would be to try and go onto the banking websites at the moment, the different banks, and look at their software. Once you've gone into that, try and make connections. A lot of when you go onto their websites, they will have networking events. And I know for a fact HSBC do, and they will promote their networking events. Go into those go to those networking events. Try and attend. Some they will be in person, right? So even wherever you are, they will have it. Go to those networking events and explain yourself and say, right, I'm in the software industry, but I'm really interested in coming into the banking sector. And they will help you make the connections. But the key thing is your CV will be probably all around software, right? We did this, the last session we did was about CV writing, resume building. So I talked about CV, resume. You need to amend your resume to say that, you know, you're interested in the banking sector now. So this is your skill set, but you want to change your career into the banking. But the important thing is banking is not as easy as we think it is. You need to draw a plan first. So draw your plan, like I said, your Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is, and say, right, I want to go into the banking sector, currently in software. What can I do to get into the banking sector from the software side? So first, look at your skill set and then look at what you need to achieve in the commercial world. And it might be that you might need to do some evening class in terms of getting a qualification. Then is when you start contacting and saying, I have this qualification. And these qualifications don't take years. These qualifications will take months. I deliver some of the training for that, where, you know, it's a 6-month or an 8-month period where you are attending a online webinar, and it's a crash course on learning about different parts of the bank. And you can go into the commercial banking area and just say, right, this is it. But the key thing I'd say, look at the banks first. Go on the websites of the different banks, whether it's an investment bank or whether it's normal, your high street bank. Look at their websites and then look at their networking events. They will always have a section where they say event, 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 and attend those events. Make sure you've got your business card and then make sure you attend those events and start introducing yourself and say, yeah, I'm in the software industry, but I'm really looking to get into the banking world. And they'll ask you loads of different questions, but they'll guide you on what you need to do to get there. Does that help? Yes, no, Palav? Yep, okay, perfect. If there's anything else, just connect with me on, I don't know, can they connect with me on LinkedIn? I can't hear, sorry, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yes, they can connect you with you on LinkedIn. Please give
Okay.
us your yeah. Please
Yeah.
give us your LinkedIn ID so that people can get connected with you directly.
Okay. That's a good question. I think that's where I really struggle. I think you've got, let me try and find it.
Yeah.
I've always I think I've got it, but bear with me a second. I can never find it straight away.
Okay. Let me try. Let me try.
Yeah, I think you have the LinkedIn if you can. But what I would do, Pallav, is connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll see if I can make some connections for you, introduce you. But the key thing is your resume, right? Your resume has to be up to date because people will only want to talk to you after looking at your resume. But in your resume, what you need to do at the top is while you do your intro, your profile summary, add in there. So whilst you've been in the software industry, you're now looking to enter the banking industry. So the moment someone looks at your resume and looks at the top, say, right, bank. And that's the way. So you need to change your resume, make sure your resume is up to date. Okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Soumya, so much. Really
No problem.
appreciate it. Yeah. So do that, Pallav,
Sure.
and make sure that you do that. I hope that helps. Any other
Yes.
questions?
Any other questions? We'll give a couple of more seconds. If we are not getting any questions, then I think we are good to end the session, Ras.
Yep, that's fine. Whatever. And obviously, they've got my LinkedIn, so they're more than welcome to contact me through that, and I can help and guide through that.
Yes. All right. So thank you everyone for joining this session, and we have more sessions with Raz in the coming month. So please visit our website, KnowledgeHut website. So I will put the link for you here. Just give me a second.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, I think our next one is
December 13th. We
yep,
have effective
effective.
interview techniques.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Theodora. Thank you. I'm glad it was very useful for you. But we've got effective interview techniques next, so this is important. And Balo, this is important, especially if you're changing your career,
Yeah.
right? Because when you are in front of an interviewer, they're going to say, you've been in the software industry. Why then do you want to come into the banking? And this how you talk about yourself is what's going to make them think, okay, we want that person. Because even though their career is in software, actually, they can help us with, they do well in banking. So how, and we'll talk about all of that in the next session. So
Yeah.
please do attend.
So I'm also adding email ID here. You can, if you have any concerns or if you have any questions regarding the job assist, you can always write an email to this email ID. Our team will get back to you. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raz, for your time.
Thank
And it
you.
was really a wonderful session and it was very
Thank you.
informative. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
See
much,
you all in the
Samia.
next sessions. Yeah.
Yep. Take care. Take care. Bye bye,
Yeah.
everybody.